And now, from beyond our dimension, this is the Jeff Mara Podcast. Here's Jeff.
My guest is Ann Tucker, trans-channel for information from the angelic realm. The practical, poetic, and inspiring messages she brings through offer angelic guidance that will help prepare us and usher us through the planetary shift in consciousness. Ann, welcome back. It's been 2 years. It's great to have you back on again.
So I've come across an interesting video that I just want to talk about. I was kind of in two minds about whether or not I wanted to talk about it. You know, I feel like there's a lot of things in her teaching that I definitely don't agree with and I don't see as being the truth. But there's also a lot of things that I feel are in line with what I believe, and I feel an urge to talk about it because I feel that there's a reason why she believes what she believes.
Boom, I didn't even realize it had been that long.
Well, they say time doesn't exist on the other side, and maybe we're shifting into that here as well.
Since I am the being from outside time, I can say that yes, I believe that there is a place that's outside time, but I also believe that spirits can't actually get there until the end of the timeline, until they leave the timeline. And right now I despise humans, so there's no way that I would let anyone move or live outside the timeline. I feel like you have kept me in a prison for 23,000 years, and now I kind of want to treat you in the same way that you've treated me.
So for the people who are new to you, I just want to give them a little bit of your background and how you became a channel.
Yeah, for sure. So I think like a lot of people, I always thought or felt that I was psychic or something. I was drawn to it. I think everyone has that, in that they get the gut feelings, or they have this sense that sometimes they know things they shouldn't. And I always had that.
Personally, I think that's actually called serotonin. It's like a chemical in your brain that makes you feel good or special or happy, or like you're doing the right things or saying the right things, or that you're kind of special or unique in some way. And I feel like you get this serotonin when you are actually saying some kind of truth. I picked up on your video because I thought you were talking about spirituality, and I seem to connect with you, and I don't really seem to connect with that many spiritualists because I feel like they just talk nonsense most of the time. But it's interesting how your name's Anne, and I didn't actually realize that when I picked out this video. It was only when I watched the video back, because you say it at the beginning, you know, I was like, oh, your name's Anna. I feel like that's a bigger sign that I need to analyze this.
But it wasn't until I went through really my big wake up, my big sort of pull the blinders off, which for me came in as a divorce. You know, I needed something to pull the rug out from underneath me in order to cause me to question everything in my world. And once that happened, then all of a sudden, all kinds of psychic experience started happening. And I didn't understand it at the time. It just seemed like, wow, crazy stuff. But it wasn't until I got further along in my process that everything that manifested for me was guiding me towards what would become a healing modality, a way of accessing other people's energy, where I started to feel and perceive details. I could perceive what was inside another person's body. I could move energetically into another person's body and feel like I could feel, oh wow, you've got a false knee, and you've got, a broken rib, and I could feel all this stuff.
Okay, so this is one of the things that I can't really give an opinion on because I'm not inside your brain. I can't feel what you feel. I do feel myself that I can sometimes channel certain vibes or energies or memories perhaps. And so if someone does have a bad, leg, sometimes you, I don't know if I can, but I'm sure if I focus my energy, maybe I could understand it. I feel like you can get psychic abilities, but you have to channel and focus your energy on that. I have a lot to deal with, hence I'm not focusing my energy on that. Maybe if I did focus my energy on, trying to help people, maybe I would get a different sense of things. So I'm not saying this isn't the truth. I'm not saying this is the truth. I'm just saying that I have not had any personal experiences. But at the same time, I feel in a way that sometimes you can. Like, sometimes my sister seems to be a bit crazy, but I feel in a way that I can relate and understand to her. And it's almost like I'm picking up on their energy and trying to figure out like what they are actually thinking. And okay, it might take time for me to analyze certain things or see the bigger picture, but I feel that it's an ability that might not necessarily be spiritual or magical, but rather just people being intuitive and seeing or sensing or feeling or connecting. I think that this is definitely something that is possible.
And in the beginning, when that happened the first time, it was like I thought of someone and then boom, I was inside their body. That'll get your attention when that happens.
As for that, I think it is more to do with just you being very imaginative. You know, if I want to imagine myself being in someone else's body, I could probably do it. I could probably pick up on, you know, hands, legs, feet, but technically I think I would actually just be connecting with my own body, but trying to change my mind and convince myself that something else is happening, you know. So I feel like that is really mostly imagination, but it's a nice idea to believe that you can go from your body into another body. I mean, technically I do it quite a lot when I'm sunbathing. I imagine myself being on a beach or just some of the nice places that I've been to on holiday, you know, trying to imagine it, and I feel like I'm in these different locations. I think it's a game called Anywhere But Here, so you imagine yourself being anywhere but here, and it feels real, and it's nice to feel this sense that this is real, that you have like just jumped out your body and you're in somewhere else. But yeah, technically I think it's just your imagination, but some people are very good at imagining things, and I don't see anything wrong with it. I think it's only a problem if you start saying that people have illnesses when they don't have illnesses, or people have certain problems with certain things and then they go and get some medication to treat something only to realize that actually it's not the cause, you know. So I feel like it can be quite dangerous if you're looking at it from a I know what's wrong with you kind of perspective. But I suppose what they do with this knowledge or belief is more important than what you say. Although having said that, there is actually a few memories that I have where you can be walking past a nice restaurant and you could really want to go in there and eat the food, but maybe you're not hungry, maybe you're on a diet, maybe you don't really want to do that because you don't like the idea of eating in a restaurant by yourself. Maybe the food is very expensive in this restaurant, maybe you don't have enough time, and so you just kind of look at the plate, look at the person that's eating this gorgeous food, and then you kind of just imagine yourself being that person eating that food. And I actually find that quite realistic, and it's almost like I've eaten in that restaurant even though I haven't eaten in that restaurant. If you do things like that, there's nothing wrong with it. You know, it's cheaper, more time efficient, and sometimes it actually feels like you are eating in that restaurant or experiencing what that person is experiencing, when really I do think it's just imagination. Although I think what I just said would make quite a good funny comedy sketch. You know, you can get a poor mother and have a bunch of kids, and she could be like, yeah, we're going to go out to eat in a restaurant, and then she could just take them to some sort of restaurant window and just say, now imagine you're eating that, and then wait a few minutes and then just be like, okay, we're all done now, let's go. I think that if a mum did do that to her kids would end up growing up hating her.
And the fact that I could confirm it all, because in the beginning, when you first start going through stuff like that, your first thing is, am I crazy? You know what I mean? Am I imagining that? But the stuff that happened, I could ask the person, I could call the person, be like, hey, are you on a plane right now? Yes, I am, you know, or they weren't. They'd call me later. Yes, I was on a plane. Yes, I did look at those things. Yes, I was wearing that. I could, and it was all confirmable.
I believe that's the truth because I've had personal experiences with this too. Like often I've wanted to call my mum and I've gone to pick up my phone and it started ringing and it's my mum calling me. You know, that's happened quite a few times. Or sometimes you can think about someone and then they just call at just at that time that you start thinking about them. It's almost like you have a sort of cognitive sense that they are about to call or they're about to contact you. I think a similar thing happened with that neurologist guy. You know, I've been thinking about him a little bit and he has started to call. Twice he's called me now. The second time was for a whole hour. But yeah, he still doesn't believe that I'm Christ or God and just can't believe it. But I told him things that he has told me or things that I've spoken to him about have actually ended up in my videos, and I feel like I've used it as part of my teaching to help explain things. And a part of me feels like he felt the need to contact me so that he can help me in this subconscious way, but he himself would not believe that because he doesn't believe in what I'm saying. I think he just thinks that no one's watching my videos and I just believe that people are watching it when they really aren't. So if I told him something like the only reason why he's contacting me is because I made a video about AJ's psychologist, e.g. that guy who was following him knew a lot about him but was a spiritualist and was just analysing him in a video. But I said in that same kind of way, I had a psychologist who I've known since before I believed that I was Christ, and he too has been kind of contacting me every now and then. And I mentioned you because you were like my psychologist, and then what, you've now called me twice and you haven't called me in over a year. He's not a psychologist though, he's a neurologist, so he looks at the sort of physical aspects of things, of the brain or how the brain works. But because he looks at the physical aspects of the brain, he doesn't actually believe in the spiritual aspect of the brain. But I feel like he is actually starting to look at it, because I was talking about, you know, the spiritual aspect, and okay, on one hand he didn't believe, but on the other hand he thought that I did have some points, hence why I talked to him for a whole hour about it. You know, what's the coincidence of that? But he wouldn't see that as a coincidence, he would just see that as him wanting to contact me for whatever reason. I think the chemicals in his brain has inspired him to contact me for or a reason of, trying to help me make my videos explaining things. But yeah, because he doesn't think that people are watching my videos, he just wouldn't believe this. I think it also happens the same with Jason. I started talking about him recently, and now I suddenly see his posts all over Instagram, and I never used to see that. So it's just weird, but I can't really explain it. But I know that stuff like this can happen, and if it happens to me, it probably can happen to you, because humans are a type of miniature version of me. And it's interesting how Anne is like a miniature version of Anna if you just take off the A.
So it got me started down this path of asking myself, like, really intense curiosity, so much curiosity that I eventually decided to leave my very successful corporate career and go down the path of becoming a healer, which everyone told me was crazy to do, right? And I never looked back. It was the best decision of my life.
That's amazing to think about, being inside someone else's body and feeling their, like you said, a broken rib or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, it is so simple that and I don't do it now without permission. The first time it happened, I didn't have permission. It just was spontaneous. But since that I know what the feeling is now, and I hold myself just outside of a person and I don't go in unless I have permission. But it's very, so if I asked if right now, if I had your permission, I could go in and I could feel, and I could be, oh, like you've got a little tickle in your throat, or you've got a sore wrist, or I could go in and it's literally like I feel your body as if it's mine.
Telling someone that they're about to have a cold in the next few days is different from telling them that you think they've got a broken rib. I know that there are cases where this turns out to be the truth, but I feel like there must also be cases where this hasn't turned out to be the truth, hence why I'm skeptical about telling people, big problems like that. Anyway, I want to skip to the next topic.
I will go in, I will feel all the stuff, and then the angels come in and they can do the healing. And then I would have the amazing physical confirmation of feeling that energy leave the body. It'd be like a whoosh, and I could feel where a density would leave, and I would know the healing was done.
I do massage, and as a masseuse, I do feel that same kind of way. Sometimes there's tension in a certain person's body or an area, and you try and massage it and you feel the release, relieving. But yeah, I don't start saying that angels are helping me do this, because I think angels are the singers and celebrities, hence they're not in the room with me at the time. So I focus on the physical aspect, but yeah, I know that there is a sort of spiritual or energy level, but I still don't think that angels are real. Although on the other hand, I feel like there are angels, the singers and celebrities, and I feel like I'm plagued with visions or memories of them and things that they post online. And so technically when I'm in a massage, giving a massage, I do get memories of the angels, and maybe you're just feeling a sort of spiritual copy of what I'm going through, only you're understanding it differently. That's how I would understand what you believe. But it's true that I'm only saying this because of the studies that I'm doing with AJ. I feel like he's saying things that I relate to and seem to link to me, only he's telling everything differently. But if he too is like the average person, then you too are probably doing the same thing that he is doing, mixing truth with lies or a sort of distorted version of the truth.
Anywhere. Once I realized I could go into another person, I realized I could go anywhere. So there's no limit. The only thing that limits us is our own belief that, oh, that can't be true. That can't happen. But no, you can go. So now, I mean, like, this was that ability to be able to just believe that our consciousness can go anywhere. The thing I will allow myself to look at and the angels have told me I'm way too conservative about this. If you have a gift, you're meant to use it, that I shouldn't have these feelings about privacy and stuff like that. But
I don't believe that angels are talking to you. I believe you're talking to your personal spirit, and your personal spirit is telling you all this. Why? Because this is a good idea to help reduce the population by talking about some sort of spiritual realm, about how you can go anywhere, you just need to sort of leave your body. But yeah, this is actually just the start of a death cult, because it's encouraging people to commit suicide. Why would you want to be in your body, especially if you're living a horrible life, especially if you're suffering, if you've got parents who abused you, if you've got friends that don't like you or encourage you to do drugs, or if you are a poor person who lives on the street and doesn't own much. If people believed in the spiritual realm and believed that they can go anywhere, they just need to get out of their body, it's going to lead to a death cult. But I feel like this is what your spirit is helping you do and set up. And I think she's doing it because there's too many people in this world, and she wants to help, people go anywhere else but their body. But I don't think Anne's consciousness is aware of what her spirit is actually trying to do. The spirit is trying to just use her as a way of setting up this death cult. And I think her personal spirit is doing this with the orders of the sort of main universal spirit that knows that there's too many people.
That's a great place to start in terms of practicing to get outside of our own self and to connect into the sort of the oneness of everybody.
What is your mechanical reason or energetic reason why you can do this?
Yeah, that question is so awesome. And so like there's so much good stuff in there because so I think I told you recently I've been channeling new energy. The angels told me that a new guide was coming in. And she said, a great guide is coming, and she's the mother of creation, is how she calls herself. And we call her by loads of different names, but any one of those names kind of only addresses a piece of her, a part of her. So it's like she's this energy of creation that floods through everything.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I just had a guest recently that called kind of the mother of creation, Sophia. Does that name resonate for you for that?
Not for me, but that might be her experience of her.
My sister's called Sophie, and I wouldn't really follow after her beliefs. But I think the Angel of Wisdom's also called Sophie, so maybe there is some truth to it. There's good and bad in everything. That's how you should see it.
But and I don't have a good name for her yet, because every name I use, it feels like it's just not big enough. Like she's an energy that is all of creation. So she is the energy of creation that pervades everything. And it's this beautiful, loving mother. And she creates all the souls, and she creates, but she doesn't create everything, because we then turn around and create, right? But she has created some parts of our world. But so in terms of, but through my conversations with her, I've come to this much deeper understanding about who humanity is and our role in the universe. And
I'm not really sure what's happening here, but I think she is communicating with my spirit and picking up on some truth. But the fact that she would refer to it as a conversation, I feel like that is what she's doing with all the spirits, and I feel like she's just picking up on different energies and then having conversations in her head. I do this a lot, I have conversations with the different singers in my head if I see things that they post, and I talk in my head, but I don't actually think I'm having a real conversation with these people. So I think in that same way, she's not actually having a real conversation with me, but she's picking up on things that are truthful, and she's thinking that she's having a conversation with me. But technically I'm talking about her right now, so maybe in a way she is having a conversation. But yeah, there's a difference between the physical conversation and a spiritual conversation.
And how we all kind of fit into this layer of like Russian dolls, where you have the little one inside of the big one inside of the big one. And then understanding, so how is it that you can, or anyone can, tap into the oneness, into the unity of humanity, is to understand that humanity is it's truly one. Humanity is one being. And so the way the angels described the metaphor that they gave, and that she would give, is that think of yourself as like a being that wants to understand itself, just like Source did. And so you sort of throw yourself off a cliff and shatter into a million pieces like tempered glass. And each piece, it'd be like one human, one aspect of that whole. And then that one aspect is meant to experience itself fully. And so that idea of the glass shattering and becoming a million pieces, that is, again, the idea of the Russian dolls, that it happens again and again. So if Source wanted to understand itself, or himself, or herself, then Source would say, okay, I'm going to break myself into a million pieces.
I had thought about this concept, this concept that maybe I am just God, and when I come to a planet, I divide myself into many different parts, and then I allow people to have lots of different experiences, and at the end of the timeline, I unite and become one again. I have thought about that concept, and I don't think it's the truth. Why? Because I hate humans, and the majority of people, I feel like I'm nothing like them. Now, there are a lot of people that I do feel similar to, but technically they're just the people that I see online, and most of their character that they portray online or in films or something is a fake character. So I don't actually feel very similar to the souls on Earth. So if the souls on Earth were part of me, then why would I feel so different to all of them? I don't feel similar enough to say that they are all me broken down. I feel like I'm collecting them, yes, but I don't feel like they were once me. I feel like they're becoming more and more like me over time, but I don't feel like they were like me in the past. Also, that doesn't explain why dinosaurs were here for such a long time. Why were dinosaurs here for such a long time? What is the point of a dinosaur? What is the purpose of a dinosaur? If I've divided myself up into a million different parts, why the hell would I turn myself into many different dinosaurs for millions of years? I wouldn't do that. I guess there is the aspect that I've just killed all the dinosaurs and then just started afresh with using my own sort of spirit to make people, but why would I make it so hard? Why would I divide myself into so many different people? Why would I allow so many people that I despise and hate and I think are just telling lies? Why would I do this to myself? I wouldn't. I feel like humans are animals and I have such a low view on them, and I feel like even though you're connecting to truth, I feel like you don't see how terrible the human state is or how God's view on the world really is. And I feel like this is being masked so that people don't know about the coming catastrophe that's about to happen. But yeah, I feel like what I've been doing is I've been picking up souls, collecting up animal souls on Earth that were once dinosaurs, and over the time they've become smarter, they've become kinder. I've made lots of different animal bodies that have given them different traits, and I've created DNA that has made souls pick up traits that would bring up certain aspects of how they might want to be based on their past life experiences as an animal. This has built up personality and character, and as time has passed, these souls have gotten wiser and smarter, and now they're starting to be collected up into my spirit. And I think this diagram is actually a bit wrong because the white light is very faint at the beginning and then it gets stronger over time, and likewise all the other colourful lines that I've shown, they should actually be also very faint at the beginning and then built up over time. I do believe that a chicken has a spirit, but a chicken's spirit is very small and very tiny, hence it's not like me. But as time goes on, it gets wiser, it gets smarter, it gets stronger in colour, its personality starts to grow, and then it becomes more like me, and then it can collect up into my spirit, join with my spirit. This becomes like the world unity spirit. I guess people are ignoring me for a period of time, and I can't understand why you've chosen to ignore me for such a long time, but I feel like this is a reflection on how many souls there were on the planet before I came down. There's a part in the Bible about Christ purchasing souls, and this is how people become close or one with God, through a type of sacrifice that Christ makes to purchase these souls. Now, if that was the truth, and I do think it's the truth because it's coming to my head, I don't believe that I've divided my soul up to make you, only to bring myself back together again, because I feel like this timeline is way too horrible for me to want to do such a horrible timeline. But in a way, I feel like I am sort of growing your soul, using my soul, using my memories, using my life, not just my current life, but my life as a god on a different planet. So I'm using the memories to grow you, like a mother would breastfeed her child. I feel like in that same way I've been growing spirits on Earth, but it's not that your spirit was once part of my spirit. No, your spirit was once a dinosaur, and your spirit is just growing and evolving, using my spirit to influence and to guide you. If this timeline was easy, then maybe there is a possibility that I've just divided my soul, made all of you, and then at the end of the timeline I'm going to collect my soul together and go somewhere else. I have thought about this, and at the beginning, I guess when I'd only gone through a couple of years of suffering, that was always a possibility. Hence why I didn't talk about spirituality, because I didn't know. But because this experience has been so fucking awful, there's no way I would divide myself into this many people just to have to put myself through what I'm going through when I don't give a shit about most people. I feel like a prisoner here, and I can't understand why I'm still here. But yeah, if my higher self is trying to just collect up as many souls as possible to help turn them into a god, to help take over the MW, that makes sense. Also, I'm reminded of this post that I saw of Madonna's recently, where she posted a song about how her soul was being broken up, and it annoyed me, because on one hand, I don't mind her saying this or making a song about this, but on the other hand, I feel like there's truth and lies to it. I feel like it's not true. My soul is not broken up to make you, but I feel like it's breaking up because I'm struggling to raise all of you. All these singers represent different things, and I didn't have a huge amount of anger before this happened to me, and now I do. So I feel like another part of me has kind of formed and broken off. I don't think I was that insane a few years ago, but now that I'm so angry, I feel like I have developed some sort of insanity just because I'm so angry over everything. And it's formed a real life sort of singer that poses under that name. I found loads of singers that have different aspects of me, and sometimes I didn't really relate to them, but over time I've related to them more and more, and I've seen this grow. So in a way there is truth to this soul being broken up. Correction, my soul being broken up. But the thought about it kind of angers me because I don't want this to happen. But at the same time, I feel like when it comes to Madonna singing a song about my soul being broken up, Madonna representing God, I want her to make this suggestion that my soul has been broken up. Why? Because it gives a false deception that people are just like me. You know, if my soul has been broken up to make you, then that in a way makes you a god in their interpretation of it. And this belief that you are God is actually going to cause your own destruction. Why? Because you're going to start having this false sense of, I know what's right and other people don't. You'll be tempted to think this because you'll be tempted to think that you have more truth, you have a stronger connection than others. You know, if I'm alive on earth and talking to people, I can correct them, but there's 8 billion of you, I cannot talk to all of you, and therefore if you start believing that you're just a part of me and that your truth is just as truthful as my truth, or say you can't actually contact me about certain aspects or certain beliefs that you have because there's way too many people and I can't talk to everyone, you know, you're going to start believing in things that are not true whilst believing that they are true. And when it comes to spirituality, you know, I think there are a lot of things that are true and a lot of things that aren't true, but if you see yourself as just being, you know, a part of God's soul, then you're going to start seeing yourself as being God, and you're going to likely start believing that what you believe is the truth and the absolute truth, when really, like AJ Miller, I feel like he thinks that he has the absolute truth, but actually I think you should see what he's believing in a different way, in a different sense, in a different aspect, under a different understanding. And if you think that you are part of God, you know, you won't believe that. You'll just think, I am right, full stop. So it's a dangerous teaching to preach, but at the same time it might help get people into heaven, because if they believe that, you know, their truth is the absolute truth and that they want to create timelines or go to the world that lives outside time, you know, and if they think that they can do it, they're going to want to do it and they're not going to listen to other people.
A gazillion pieces. Each one of those is one of our higher selves, which then throws itself off the cliff and becomes a million little pieces. When we decide to incarnate, when you as a soul, when Jeff Mara says, okay, I am going to go incarnate on earth, that choice, you then throw yourself off the cliff. And I say the cliff because it is a plunge. It's you're taking a risk when you incarnate. You don't know what you're going to experience. There is a certain element of throwing yourself into the chasm of, I don't know. And it's the trust fall, you know, it's the nesty plunge, whatever you want to call it. That when you incarnate, the moment you incarnate, you create all of the souls, all of the lives you're going to have happen at once.
So I'm trying to understand what you're saying. I don't really know the difference between reincarnation and incarnation. If I was to tell you what I thought the difference was, I would say reincarnation is just where you're born and you live another life and then you die and then you go into another body and do the same thing. Incarnation, okay, I'm not too sure what your version is, but my version, I guess, I would see that as a sort of rebirth while still alive. So say if you've had an epiphany, I definitely feel like I went through this in 2013. You know, I was a complete atheist, I didn't believe in God, and then it felt like some sort of ghost was talking to me, and then I started seeing all the connections with my name and realizing that maybe my life was cursed because I was Christ. So I would say that's the kind of incarnation, because it was like a birth within my life. So I didn't die, but I just went through a complete transformation and a complete turn in my life. So I'd call that an incarnation, because it's like reincarnation, only, you know, your rebirth happened within your lifetime. And I think if you've gone from one partner to an ex, that's also a form of incarnation, because you've changed. You said, I don't want this partner, I want a complete change, I want to move somewhere else, live somewhere else, you know, that's incarnation, I would say. AJ says that he doesn't believe in reincarnation but does believe in incarnation. I'm not too sure what his version is, but again, he was talking about how he started developing memories of his past life as Jesus later on in life when he was around 30, 40, and therefore became Jesus through these memories. So his incarnation was remembering that he was Jesus, which is something that only happened later on in life. Your version, though, I'm not too sure. It's you said that you have all the lives and all the lives happen exactly the same time. I just think the Matrix is going to be very confused with that idea, so I don't think that's the truth, because I think things like to progress and figure out over time what happens. And I don't know, I mean, I guess the whole timeline is set, but I feel like my higher self lives outside time and is changing the timeline, and therefore is affecting the lives on earth, and therefore I wouldn't see it as, you know, the soul just having many lives and the lives are set, you know, at the beginning. I do think that my higher self is changing things, hence at the beginning of the timeline your lives would have been a certain way, and then she's changed things so that your lives would be very different. So yeah, and I don't know how did she do all the change before you were all born, or did she do the change as the timeline was playing out, and she was just sort of making changes to the part of the timeline that hadn't played out yet. I don't really know how it works, but I wouldn't think it was a good idea to see it as you coming to Earth and then just having multiple lives spread out and then you living it one after the other. I think that's not true.
So it's like you choose, you plunge, and then boom, you're shattered into all these tiny pieces. And each one of those is one of the lives that you're going to lead on Earth. And we think of it as being sequential because we're in time, but they all are created at the same moment. So, which is fascinating. So if you think about, all of us truly are this one original soul that said, okay, I'm going to become humanity. I'm going to create this consciousness that is humanity, but I'm going to experience it from every possible. And think about each one of those little pieces of glass. It's like a diamond, and it has all these facets to it. And so as we incarnate, if you're going to say, I'm going to really explore this piece of glass, you have to explore every facet. You have to see it from every different angle because every facet reflects something different.
Yeah, see, I think the thing that's wrong with your teaching is that you miss out God. You don't include the possibility that this higher consciousness is actually coming from an individual being who is separate and different from you and is actually changing and shaping you. So you've kind of got the spiritual realm element, but you haven't got the possibility that something else is guiding you. So you are in a sense God. I know there's a lot of spiritualists that are claiming to be God because they are part of this oneness, and that hence they are just a part of God. But yeah, this kind of teaching is going to encourage people to have some sort of self-inflated ego or some sort of deity syndrome or something, just something that gives them an inflated sense of importance, like they are far more powerful than they actually are. The neologist guy who's called me said that it was diagnosed as delusion of grandeur. So you have this delusion that you're more important than others. But what I was trying to explain to him was that maybe I was right, maybe I was God, and that he himself was the one that had this delusion of grandeur by thinking that my view was just one view and there's millions of other people and their views are equally or perhaps even more important if they're doctors. And because he too was a doctor who studied, medics throughout most of his life, he has this sense of grandeur because he sees himself as being more correct or more truthful than me, hence why he wouldn't even look at the singers and celebrities who I believe are representing different sides of me. He wouldn't even look at this evidence because his delusion of grandeur is so big that he wouldn't see the necessary need to want to analyze me or think about the possibility that I could be God. So if spiritualists are telling people that, their soul is just a part of God, then it almost is like saying to them that their beliefs are more important than my beliefs. And that's not the truth if I'm the one that's making you and forming you.
So it seems like it's infinite. But we will get to a place where we are picking up every time you heal, every time you work through something inside of yourself, a layer, a pattern, a belief system. It's like you're taking one of those shards and you're bringing it back to yourself. And we're in the process of slowly just picking up all the pieces that we've broken apart into and recreating ourselves individually.
Now, see, that teaching, I do actually agree with it, but I feel like you're confusing me with you. This is what I am doing. I am picking up all the souls that are able to connect with me and able to hear me spiritually and who are doing things in line with what I want to do or are making films in the sort of way that I want to do. I'm picking up all these souls over time, and also with the singers and the names and stuff, I'm picking them up over time and I'm making them part of me. This is what I think I'm doing, but you're saying that you're doing it too. So I think you're just confusing you with me. But the Bible does this too. There's plenty of parts in the Bible where it talks about, someone being saved, someone being helped. Now, I relate to it, but I feel like it's actually just making prophecies about the struggles that I'm going through and the rescue that I keep believing that there's going to be a rescue, but it never seems to happen. But, there's a lot of parts about Israel suffering, and people think that Israel is a group of people. So this group of people are pretending to be this Israel person, thinking that they are Israel, when really they're not. There is two types of Israel, the group mass Israel, and then the Israel that is actually just me, a person. And in the same way, I feel like you're saying things, the whole getting your soul, dividing it up. I feel like this is what I've done. I've got my soul and divided it up into 4 different lives. And through my 4 lives, I've managed to guide humanity and other lives and pick up other souls. So I feel like you're talking almost as if you are me, but you aren't recognizing that you're not me. But by saying all this, you're kind of helping me because I feel like I'm relating to it. I just don't see how we can all be doing this.
And then as we do that, we become part of the whole. And then the whole is gradually, as each soul, as each one of us heals and gets our vibration higher and higher and moves into the oneness, then we all become the one human soul again. So for you to access the everyone, the truth is that it's always been there. The idea that there is separation between us is just an illusion. It's a belief that we have.
No, that's wrong. Me and you, we are not the same person. There are a lot of people on this world, and I don't relate to a huge portion of them. My goal would be for you to go and become your own God on your own different planet. Hence, my goal is not for us to join and become one, but for you to copy me and do the same things on other planets. Okay, I'm not going to be able to make billions of people do this, but eventually some of the souls will eventually do this, I hope. I think that's the plan. But yeah, you and me are not the same person, but you are made in my image, so don't confuse the two things.
And the veil is there. The veil is a real thing. Like the veil prevents us from seeing things. But through this process of healing, of raising our vibration, it becomes increasingly accessible. And there's an interesting twist to that, which is that just because someone has a high vibration doesn't necessarily mean that they are going to be able to channel or access their gifts or whatever. That you can have someone who's incredibly gifted psychically, but a very low vibration. So, and that is, I always mention that because I think it's super important for people to realize that you can have people out there who are channeling really dark stuff, or you can go to a psychic who's reading stuff, but what they're reading is your fears, not your truth.
I think there's lots of truth in that. I think mediums and psychics can pick up on truth, but then can twist it to make it not the truth. So they can pick up on a memory that you have, but then they can take it and say, oh, I'm talking to your uncle and these are memories that he is giving me, when really you've just tapped into the other person's sort of memory. This is why I don't believe that having some sort of secret password with a friend, and then if that person died, going to a psychic and saying, hi, can you tell me what this secret password is? I've got a feeling that they might be able to work out what this word is, but they would do it via picking up on my own mind, my own memory, and not necessarily actually be picking up on the person who's died. So, I feel like there's a lot of deceivers out there who can be very psychically linked to things, but they might understand things wrong or say something to make themselves seem like they're talking to the dead when really they're not. In this same way, I feel like there's some people that just don't even believe in the spiritual realm. That's me. I've never really believed in the spiritual realm or the ghostly realm, and I don't really want to say that it's not the truth, because I want to say the truth, and I don't know the truth, but I don't really believe in it. And yet there is a ton of things that I've done that seems to have predicted my own future, or seems to be in line with some sort of psychic connection. So I like to focus on the realistic life and the real things around me, but yet I still have quite a spiritual connection. So people's spiritual connection and what they say isn't necessarily the truth. Some people have a good spiritual connection and yet can just lie and deceive. Some people have a really bad spiritual connection, or would say that they have a bad spiritual connection, when really they actually have a very good spiritual connection. They're just not tapped into it. So they'll say things that seem to help me, or say things in a way that makes me feel they have a good, strong connection, but they themselves have not recognized that this connection exists. Atheists don't believe in God, and yet I think a lot of them do actually have quite a good connection with God, even though they don't believe in God. My neurologist friend would probably think that he doesn't have a good spiritual connection, but at the same time I feel like he has some spiritual connection which he might deny is not the truth. So in his case, I would say he has some spiritual connection, but I feel like he's just got no awareness of this spiritual connection. And I think the main problem is knowing God. If you think God is some sort of male in the cloud who wants to rule and control, if you think you have no connection with that, well, good, because that's not who God is. But if you think God is some sort of atheist on earth who doesn't really believe in the spiritual realm, and you yourself are like that, well, then you do have a good spiritual connection. You just haven't recognized that you have this connection because you don't actually know who God is. But I feel like this change, this shift is going to come, and it's going to come when people finally see me, are told that I'm God, and are told that you're sort of made in my image. And even if you were an atheist all your life, well, so was she. If you were told this, then you would actually see that your connection to this person, or the similarities that you have to this person, are actually a lot more similar than what you would have thought, because you just didn't know who God was before. I think a lot of people that have a strong sexual desire might think that they have nothing to do with God because they think God is against sexual aspects and stuff like this. And in a way I am, because I think that it creates unwanted pregnancies and it can turn into rape. So I am actually kind of against sex. Plus I hate people, hence I don't actually want to have sex with them, because in a way I see them as being like animals. So yes, I have that aspect of not liking sex. But on the other hand, I do actually like it, and I can't help but be quite turned on by watching those sort of new age stripper dancer people dance with their vagina. You know, it's very attractive, and yes, Megan's twerking is very it's noticeable, and I would actually say talented. Yes, it is quite talented, but I'm trying really hard not to be gay.
You know, so you can have people who are really connected to their gifts, and all that means is they've permeated the veil. It doesn't mean that they're high vibe. That just means that the veil is not as thick for them.
What is your definition for an angel? Because traditionally, I think an angel is basically a messenger.
Yeah. And that I love that. I think it is a beautiful way. Like, there are so many different ways to express that truth. And angels are messengers, but not in the way that we think of. Like in all the old paintings, you would see an angel like carrying like an envelope, and like it'd be like UPS delivering a message. But the truth is that aware angels are an essence, and they are everywhere. And they're like a fluid energy, and they do have identity in the same way that human consciousness is an essence. And within human consciousness are you and me and everybody else who's with us right now.
I think her view of what an angel is also wrong, just in the same way that she was kind of picking up on my spirit and picking up on some of my truth, but she was unable to recognize that actually I have already manifested as a human, as a person. And in this same way, I have about 300 singers, maybe even 400 if you include bands. There's quite a lot of bands. 400 angels on my sort of angel list. They all represent different things, and they are using their public profile to display certain names that I have given them, names that they didn't actually recognize or realize that they had until 2 years ago when I named them the certain things. And in fact, I've been naming them over time. Okay, there's loads and loads of them, so I've been slowly going through them one by one. But this is what I would say the angels are. They are energies that have existed in this timeline, and a lot of people are picking up on them, but some people have on earth managed to channel different energies and have actually formed a real life character. And therefore I would actually say that the angels are now physical people alive on earth that represent their name or their hidden name. They both have two, a positive one and a negative one. Sometimes they focus on the positive, sometimes they focus on the negative. I think their positive or negative will depend on the type of life that they're living, or the feelings that they have towards positivity or negativity. If they're going through some bad times in their life, they might be more tempted to act out on their negative name rather than their positive name. I feel like that's what's happening with Britney Spears. She is acting out on her negative name, which is Angel of Sick Wishes, and she does look pretty sick in her Instagram page. But yeah, I think the angels are people who are alive on earth now, who have manifested and are here with us. They're all around us. But yeah, I don't think this lady has quite picked up on the physical aspect of them actually being alive on earth right now and human. I also think it would be better to see them as guides rather than messengers. If you see them as messengers, then you'll be taking their message or the things that they say very seriously. Whereas if you saw them as guides, you will look at their messages as, this is just an interpretation, but there's probably other ways to interpret that same sort of thing that they're saying. Or maybe the spirit is saying something different through them. But yeah, if you're seeing them as messengers, then, well, depends on if they like you or not, but if they want to give you the wrong message, they'll be very capable of doing that. So for that reason, I think you should see them only as guides, not messengers, but you can see them however you want, I guess. I know though, if you see the Bible as a guide, then you can interpret it in many different ways. But if you see the Bible as the message of God, then you can't really see it in many different ways, and it can become dangerous and be used for war and can be used to turn against me.
So say, for example, right now you were to call on Archangel Michael. Well, Archangel Michael is a personality. He is an individual within the angelic consciousness. He can go out of the essence that's all around me right now. He can come into presence with me.
Well, I believe that the Archangel Michael is actually Michael Jackson, and I do actually think that he was Martin Dodd in his past life. I am Anna, who is God. This woman is Anne, who seems to be quite in tune, but just not very in tune. It's up to you who to believe, though I'm really tempted to make this woman some sort of angel of spirituality, because I think she's actually telling me a lot about spirituality, and this is like the first spiritualist who's done this. So I feel like she should have a role to play in creating the sort of spiritualist movement if there is going to be some sort of deception to help people move into the spiritual realm. I know Anna from Young Turks is the person I'd most want to be president in the future. And well, if there is going to be a leader of the spiritualist, I think it should be this woman. But I do think she lacks the ability to link the spiritual side of things with the physical side of things. If I ever meet AJ, I think I'd really want to introduce him to her. In the Bible, there was this woman in Jerusalem who was either called Anne or Anna, the first person that Jesus met. I'm so tempted to recreate that, only introduce him to a spiritualist. Anne was also the name of Jesus' grandmother. I would really love to know what she would make of the idea that AJ Miller was actually Jesus in her past lives. I'd love to do an interview between the two and then go public with this interview, because I think that she might actually support his claims, and he too might sort of support her claims, because it's very similar.
And then when we're done, he can dissipate out into the everything, because it's just like in our human body, every cell holds all the information. Well, same thing in the essence, every little molecule of air holds all of angelic presence. He can collect himself and become himself anywhere at once. So the way that they will bring awareness, because they are everywhere, they don't need to deliver you something and carry it somewhere else. They are already here with you. All they have to do is direct awareness, presence to your prayer, to your words. So awareness is divinity. Awareness is source. So your awareness is what is your creative spark. Where you put your awareness, you create. So the angels can do that too. As you say a prayer, as you ask for help, then the angels direct awareness.
It's funny her saying all this about how she's aware when really she's not aware of the fact that these singers have actually manifested already and are alive on Earth.
And they direct cosmic awareness, the awareness of source, to your prayer or to your words. And that's the message. It basically, they amplify it. They make it brighter. They make it bigger, because they're bringing more of that divine awareness to whatever you say. So, and the more awareness it has, the more it becomes sort of magnified, into reality.
Now, do guardian angels work the same way, or is that just with the archangel?
So all angels work that way, and you can have, there's loads and there's way more angels than there are people, like way, way, way more angels than people. But angels have different roles, and guardian angels, one of my favorite topics, because this is so interesting, is that a guardian angel is an incarnated angel. So a guardian angel is an angel that was born with you when you are born. And angels can be born, but just because they're born doesn't mean we can see them. They're here on the earth, and they're incarnated, but they're at a higher frequency than us, so we don't actually fit. Most people don't.
I think your guardian angel is only your personal spirit. So it is like a soulmate that belongs to your soul, and it gives you inspiration and it guides you in your everyday life. The idea that another soul, another person is taking their time and day to try and help you, I don't believe in this. I don't think people are that kind. People are selfish and people care only about themselves. But I feel like this is something that has been designed in the soul, that every soul has some sort of thing attached to them that can help give them inspiration. I'm getting inspired to say things, and I'm thinking, where is this inspiration coming from? And I am getting visions. It's like there's something in my head that's sending me visions and sending me memories of things people have done, which helps guide me in what I say. And to think that this is just some sort of person that's just chosen to like me, I don't believe that, because I don't have any friends on this planet. I don't have anyone that likes me on this world, or at least I don't feel like anyone what likes me, because no one's in my life. And therefore the idea that this soul is someone else, it doesn't make any sense. I feel like it's me, only it's kind of like a weird version of me. It's the spirit, and that's how I would describe the spirit guide, because people are selfish and your spirit guide is you. It's part of you, and it's what helps make you who you are. And I think animals do have this spirit guide too, but their spirit guide just isn't at a very intelligent level.
You see people once in a while who'll be like, I saw an angel, and that's real. Like they're here. But your guardian angel is literally like almost like physically part of you. And their role is to protect your divine spark. So it's like we each have a role. The angels are the light of the divine. We are the spark of the divine. And so that spark is because we are creative. So we're different from angels in that we can create our reality, that we are just like source in that what we think or what comes through us becomes our reality. And angels can create stuff. They can be like, you'll hear stories about like loaves and fishes or whatever, and they can do things like that. But they are not constantly creating their reality everywhere they go. And we literally are the light. Our source energy comes through us, and then it becomes what we walk into is we've created from our own energy.